The United States has warned that unless Russia abides by the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty (INF) by February 2, Washington will withdraw from the agreement. The INF Treaty forbids Russia and the U.S. from possessing any medium-range nuclear weapons. U.S. Under-Secretary of State for Arms Control and International Security Affairs Andrea L. Thompson talked to DWs Zhanna Nemtsova about the U.S. position and the possibility of the new arms race. Zhanna Nemtsova, Madam Undersecretary, Secretary of State Michael Pompeo said in December that the U.S. will withdraw from the INF treaty unless Russia complies within 60 days. The deadline is approaching. It is set for February 2. What are the odds that the U.S. will withdraw? Andrea L. Thompson, you may know that we did meet our Russian counterpart, the Deputy Foreign Minister, Sergei Ryabkov, last week in Geneva to discuss this and unfortunately made no new ground. The Russian response is that they continue to violate the treaty. If Russia isn't in compliance by February 2, then our intent is to suspend our obligations under the treaty. I was just in NATO last week. I briefed the NAC, North Atlantic Council, EDs. We've got great support from the Secretary General, Jens Stoltenberg, and our NATO partners. Read more. Germany demands Russia verify commitment to INF treaty. You don't mention withdrawal, you mention suspension. What's the difference? We will suspend it and then a 6-month clock runs, if you will. During that time Russia still can get back into compliance, but it frees our obligations under the treaty. So we suspend our obligations with the intent to withdraw. But we have abided by the treaty for the entire time. By suspending our obligations, we'll be able to do the research for development of similar systems that Russia now has fully fielded in the field. What exactly are the missiles in question that Russia allegedly possesses and that are not compliant with the treaty? SSC-8 is the nomenclature of the U.S. defense, and the Russians know which system it is. We've continued to meet with them and show them intelligence and information on why this system is not in compliance. We've continued to show them the test states, locations of when they conducted the tests. Russia insists that the controversial SSC-8C cruise missiles can only fly 480 kilometers, 298 miles, meaning that they fall below the 500-kilometer range limit stipulated by the INF treaty. EDs, read more. Europe caught in a dangerous nuclear trap. DWs Zhanna Nemtsova, R., with Andrea Thompson, U.S. Under-Secretary of State for Arms Control and International Security. But Russia also claims that the U.S. is not compliant with the treaty. The example they always give is that the United States deployed an anti-missile system in Romania and there is a special missile launcher that is not compliant. Are these claims true? They're not true. Russia is the only country that continues to raise this question. Other parties to the treaty, our NATO partners and allies, continue to say America, the United States, is in compliance with the INF treaty. We continue to provide them facts and information why these systems are treaty compliant. But could Russians verify that these missile launchers are compliant with the treaty, or they are not allowed to get into the space in Romania? As part of the treaty, we all get to just randomly check other nations' systems. But we have provided them with the intelligence and fact-based data, as have our partners. But they continued with their rhetoric and propaganda. It's laughable. The world sees the fraud as it is, and we continue to hold them accountable. Read more. Russia denies it is violating nuclear arms treaty. You always refer to verifiable results, so the INF treaty provides for a special verification commission. Does it still exist? It does. We continue to abide by that. We've continued to meet our obligations with the treaty. We've called meetings and we've met our technical experts as scheduled and as requested. It's not that the door is closed, the door is open, but Russia continues to violate. This isn't a research and development system. This isn't in a lab. This isn't a testing ground. These are fielded battalions. These are in the field today with soldiers manned and equipped to use these systems. They can impact Europe and our partners. Do you expect a renewed arms race with Russia? Russia has fielded battalions of these systems. So right now there's a race. The Russians are clearly violating and they started the so-called race. Andrea Thompson has served as U.S. Under-Secretary for Arms Control and International Security since April 2018. Prior to that appointment, she served as the Deputy Assistant to President Donald Trump, National Security Advisor to Vice President Mike Pence and Director of the McChrystal Group Leadership Institute. For over 2 decades she was also a career military intelligence specialist with numerous deployments to combat zones around the world. German Chancellor Angela Merkel's government voiced immediate concern over U.S. President Donald Trump's threats to pull out of the INF nuclear arms treaty with Russia. Berlin said it regrets Washington's decision, adding that it urged Russia to dispel the serious doubts about its adherence to the treaty that had arisen as a result of a new type of Russian missile. German Foreign Minister Heiko Maas said that Trump's move poses difficult questions for us and for Europe since the INF treaty is an important pillar of our European security architecture. Maintaining the level of security in Europe was the primary concern of German Defense Minister Ursula von der Leyen. Regardless of whether the treaty has to be saved or renegotiated, it is important that all NATO states be included in the discussion, she told reporters during a trip to China. The International Campaign to Abolish Nuclear Weapons, ICAN, which won a Nobel Peace Prize last year, called on Berlin to intervene in the tug-of-war between the US and Russia. The potential threat to people living in Europe is massive, warned Johannes Mikeska, the head of ICAN's Germany branch. That's why it is urgent for the German government to now mediate between the US and Russia, he said. The Greens described Trump's move as absolutely fatal. Annalena Baerbock, the co-leader of the Greens, urged Merkel's government to take a stand against Washington by getting rid of the US nuclear weapons still stationed in Germany. If the German government is serious about its appeals to the US government, it must now say, "We are ending Germany's nuclear participation," she said. Christian Lindner, the leader of the business-friendly Free Democrats (FDP), said although he thinks Trump's decision is dangerous, Washington's reasoning was sound. What's correct is that Putin isn't adhering to the INF. Lindner wrote on Twitter. The FDP chief also slammed the Greens' proposal to remove U.S. weapons from Germany, saying it would leave Germany defenseless. The deputy leader of the FDP, Alexander Graf Lambsdorff, told DW that he was deeply concerned about the type of cruise missiles that were prohibited by the treaty. He noted that it concerns a category of weapons that would reach Europe, not the continental United States. He added that he believes the treaty can be saved if all sides share the intention of avoiding a really ruinous arms race. Author, Rebecca Stoudenmeyer.